On the Perry Bar job, you described the construction of the RC retaining wall, part of the embankment, including the drain behind the wall, Also, in your report, you stressed the care you took in setting out, SO, the shuttering for the retaining wall, and, during the interview, explained how the accuracy of the total station equipment was assured and the setting out work itself was checked by others. You described your work on materials supply for the embankment and the retaining wall works. This included compacting the fill to a percentage of the maximum dry density achievable, and when this was difficult to achieve with the plant available, switching to an alternative clay supply that was more appropriate. Insert after this included managing the safe delivery and deposition of the imported clay fill by the use of banksmen, safety managers, PPE and radio communications between operatives and supervisors, and the engagement of a specialist subcontractor to sample and test the compacted fill in place and in the site laboratory. You managed the engagement and supervision of other supervisors within the main contract, which you stated was NEC3 option C. At the commencement of each stage of the works and at weekly intervals in the course of the works, you conducted toolbox talks to explain the applicable RAMs you had prepared or had managed the preparation and issue of, applying the ERIC principle. For non-English team members, you arranged interpreters both to communicate instructions and to get feedback / confirmation that the instructions had been understood. You also mentored several junior graduate engineers on the project, some of whom had been your contemporaries at NTU. As a result, it was a generally happy and harmonious site, with few conflicts, differences of opinion, or discrimination, although you mentioned that you yourself had experience of the last in other situations. Your aim was to deal with each situation appropriately as it arose, though you would deal firmly with any adverse comments or behaviour, or any inappropriate comments or behaviour towards colleagues by third persons towards your colleagues. Your report, including your DAP and CPD records, your presentation and answers to questions, were generally interesting, relevant, well presented and professional. Though the examples you cited were somewhat beyond the scope of the EngTech requirements. Nevertheless, you explained that having spent 2 years completing your MSc part-time, you were keen to gain an initial professional qualification as with the support of your employer's SCE on the way to becoming chartered. You have conducted and spoke at site meetings in the course of your in your capacity as a site engineer at Perry Barr and to stakeholders of the project, but not so much to the public at large. Nevertheless, your reviewers are satisfied that you meet the requirements of the standard use effective communication and interpersonal skills. You're aware of the ICE Professional Code of Conduct and consider all the provisions as important, particularly as regards integrity and competence. Your reviewers were satisfied that as an individual you carry out and would only carry out work that you're competent to do, and that you apply this to the engineers and technicians and subcontractors who report to you. You agreed that by its nature the work at Perry Barr was a good example of sustainable development, but in addition you adopted a minimum waste approach to construction and not simply on economic grounds. Your reviewers are satisfied that you meet the requirements of the standard of Standard E, make a personal commitment. End.